Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Group Chat. We are missing drama today, but we have very special guests, two special guests, in fact. So we have Brent Saunders on here today. He's the CEO of Vesper Healthcare Acquisition Corp, which is now owns Hydrofacial. It's a publicly traded company, and he's a former CEO of Allergan. And so he's on the pod. He's calling in from South Florida in Miami. We're talking Miami. We're talking COVID kind of regulations and how we should be handling things. And we talk about some great advice that he gives for young people and really just talking about the economy and where we see the next 6 to 12 months. Incredible conversation. Excited for you all to dive in. Then Anna and I get into some news. We talked about some staggering numbers about the NFL and the SATs. And then, special treat, we have Ian Rogers to close out the episode. Had a conversation with him. He's out in Paris still. They just had NFT Paris week. And we talk about their big collaboration with Fendi and really what crypto strategies he's been practicing himself and how he's taking account all the kind of carnage that's happened in the market. So you don't want to miss that. Let's get into it. Woo!
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, everyone. We have our resident, expert on, I would say, policy when it comes to all things COVID and understanding what's going on with the virus. And recently, SPACed CEO, or I guess, are you chairman of the company? What's your official
chairman,
title?
but I'm a D-SPAC chairman.
You're okay, D-SPAC chairman, and Brent has been on the podcast before a few times, and he's the former CEO of Allergan and has this incredible career in finance and healthcare. And, I think the timing is great to have this conversation. We'll talk about all the COVID stuff second, but I wanted to talk about the stock market and really understand from where you sit and kind of where you're navigating this large business, and I'm sure involved with a lot of other things and obviously an investor in a lot of things. What do you make of what's happening? And are you panicked in any way?
Yeah, so it's not fun watching it and participating in it, but look, it's a general risk-off trade, right? That's what's happening. People are concerned about a variety of things, perhaps the most legitimate being inflation. Probably second, Omicron closures, impact on an already stretched thin supply chain. Maybe on top of it, are we going to war in Ukraine or what the hell's going on there?
Yeah.
And so there are all these variables, the Fed going to raise interest rates 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, who knows? So I think the multifactorial kind of risk-off trade, what happens in a risk-off trade? Generally, retail investors run for the hills. Based on the data we've seen, that's true. The algorithms, that tracks index or ETFs, go with the market flow. And so you get this kind of downward spiral, which we're seeing. And then people need liquidity to cover margins or pay taxes or what have you. So they sell their crypto or whatever they're doing, right? And you get this general depression or pullback in the market, or correction, I guess maybe you even would call it. As a CEO of a company, as a long-term investor, I don't really worry about it. The thing I generally look for are there opportunities to buy. I'm an optimist. So I look, are there things that I've been looking at and haven't been able to touch? I like Amazon. I like where Amazon is starting to trade at these days. Is that a good point to enter, a trade into Amazon? You look for high quality companies, good balance sheets, good growth prospects, and move forward. What I say to my team at my company, which is a public company, is, I've been a public company CEO or been in public companies for 15, 16, maybe 17 years. I haven't counted. About 50% of the stock price is based on things we do as management and, delivering on our promises to shareholders, hitting our numbers, exceeding our numbers, missing our numbers, whatever it may be. That's within our control. 50% is market or industry dynamics. And, when a market pulls back because of industry dynamics or risk off trade versus something you did, just keep your head down and focus on executing, right? Keep delivering for shareholders, beat expectations, drive your business, think about the long term, and let the market sort itself out. There's nothing you can do about it anyway.
Yeah. So as a public market CEO, we were having this discussion last week. It's specifically like growth tech stocks. So if you've joined any of these growth tech stocks in the last 12 to 18 months, your options are down 50 to 70% in some cases. How do you keep company morale high? How do you keep employees encouraged, like, hey, this is just a blip? And there's some great companies that are trading like 60% down. And
it's frankly, you hit the nail on the head. As a CEO or leader in a big company, when you experience something like this, that is, among the worst things to happen. The worst thing that can happen is you experience this and it's because you did something, so it's only your company versus your competitors.
Right.
In this environment, it's everybody. And so, it's not that it's just your company. It's your best friend's company. It's the competitor. It's so on and so forth. So it's a little easier to swallow, but you do have to pay special attention to your hate to lose talent, your best talent. You probably have to think about other retention programs for them. You may have made your golden hand and cuffs on someone evaporate, right? You may not have any hooks on somebody anymore if everything's underwater. So you're going to have to rethink that perhaps with cash or other incentives. But it's a lot easier to deal with when it's everybody than it's just your company.
So what do CEOs do? Do you just re-incentivize them with more stock for all the kind of downturn they've had, or?
Depends on the company. Big companies with established pay policies that have been approved by shareholders don't have a lot of flexibility to do that. You could do some spot awards for a couple key people, but you can't do a massive redo of your stock. You definitely can't, in a public company, you can't reprice options. Private companies can do that, but public companies, that's a big no-no, right? That's not even up for debate. So you got to look at competitive cash comp, and then hopefully, you're in a cycle, and generally, when this happens in the first quarter of the year, which is what is happening, you're about to grant, their annual options or your annual stock awards right now anyway, so you're going to grant at these lower prices, and
that makes sense.
It averages out. When it happens in the mid-year or end of year, it's a little different.
So in your view, like given the environment, like stock market's a leading indicator of what may come. I understand there's uncertainty now, but do you feel like there's a underlying slowdown, saying the consumer, that we are kind of witnessing because of lack of stimulus or consumer confidence, whatever it is? Do you foresee that happening like in the near future, or are we reading that wrong?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think though, my sense is where we're at today is unprecedented, right? You can't, if you're in the mid to high tier of a market, you can't find a car, a house, a boat, a plane. There's nothing for sale, right?
Yeah.
Used cars are going for more than what you paid for them and more than what you can, a new car, because you can't get a new car. So, I think we're in this really weird time. I do think the consumer is incredibly strong. If you look at the data, household savings is at an all-time high. Vis-a-vis debt is even another high. I know in my own business with my beauty health company, which owns Hydrofacial, is a good probably indicator of the consumer. The data, as we sit here today, looks really strong on demand. But could we have a little pullback? I think that's possible. There was so much liquidity. There was so much euphoria coming out of lockdown. There was probably a bit of an over stimulation of the economy. Should have pulled back to something a little bit more normalized. I think that could happen, but I don't see a slowdown necessarily unless something new comes into the picture. We get a new variant that's much more lethal than Omicron. That all bets are off. But I'm an optimist. I think we're in for a reasonably good economy unless the government does something stupid, which we shouldn't put that past them.
Everything's on the table, right? With the government. I was told by someone in the finance community that they say inflation 7%. 2 of that 7% is used car sales, which is staggering.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
it is crazy. And used car, it's bizarre. But you know what else I see? I went to fill up my gas tank the other day. It was noticeably more expensive. And then I went grocery shopping with my fiance, and I hadn't been in a while. And normally our grocery bills, $300, $350. It was like double that, and we got the same stuff. So
Wow.
if you're a consumer, you're going to start feeling it. It's real, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is real, and you see it everywhere. I agree. In Los Angeles, it's definitely at the pump. Like that is in my normal daily life, and because I don't go to the grocery store physically, I went the other day, and like I couldn't. I mean, I have no idea how expensive things are, but like it felt like, damn, I didn't get much.
And it's also the psychology of the gas station because it's in your face.
Yeah.
You drive down the
Watching
street.
meter.
yeah.
It's in your face. Whereas, like, will you notice milk is $2.50 versus $5 or whatever the price is? You won't notice until you get to the cash register and you're like, why is my bill 2x?
Yeah.
So I think the gas station is so important for the psychology of a consumer.
Yeah.
When they see that like $6 a gas, I saw $6 gas.
Yeah. In LA, there's $6 gas.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
We don't have that yet, but maybe you're the leading indicator for Florida. But what happens is if that persists, right, and you don't have the correlating wage inflation, which we have a little wage inflation, but not nearly as much as we have price inflation. If you were eating out, let's say 3 nights a week because times were good, and now you're spending more at the pump, more at the grocery store, more on your daycare or whatever, you're going to cut that down to 2 times, 1 time, 0 time. I think we get to the point, kind of on my eat out index that people cut back, by 50%, not to 0. So that's why I don't think we see a recession necessarily, but do we see a more moderate growth? Yes, but still a very nice economy.
That's interesting. And the thing, you mentioned, one of the things is being unpredictable is like, oh, is there another variant comes about? Obviously, you live in basically a different country than where we live in South Florida. And here for the last 30 days, I feel like the last week was a little bit more mellow. But for the last 30 days, it was a ghost town. Like the city was just
It felt
dead.
like LA was at war.
Yes, we were at war.
Like we're all heading to our bunkers.
Yeah.
Because every single family we knew, someone in
COVID.
the house had AMI, and then it spreads through, then kids can't go to school, and it's this like cascading like consequence after consequence for everyone in LA.
What's
and
fun?
what is second biggest city in the country?
Yeah, and you feel like it's funny is like, and you feel like an outcast, right? Like I was. This is the first time that my family and I got it, and my day 5 or 6, I literally have 0 symptoms for a week now, and I went for a walk with our youngest, who never tested positive. And my wife was like, "What are you doing walking around?" I'm like outside on the street away from everybody by myself. She's like, "Yeah, but people you're so recognizable because you're wearing your hat and this and that." And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
So can you contrast your experience with Omicron compared to the war we just faced in LA and Miami?
I think, what is our, obviously our governor's controversial on this topic, but what he calls it, the free state of Florida. The data I think is what's going to be interesting. When you compare and contrast, and you have to normalize for age and health and everything else. But if you start to normalize, let's say, a state like Florida vis-a-vis a state like California or New York, where, you had lockdowns, you had, moral police around, COVID protocols and other things like that. You had shaming, you had the whole 9 yards going on. Where in Florida, you really had none of that, right? We wore masks. We did some, obviously if we had it, we quarantined, but more or less we lived our lives pretty normal. Our kids are in school, so on and so forth. The data looks like it doesn't make any difference. It really makes only difference. You know where it's going to make a difference? A couple of years from now, when the mental health crisis, which is looming and at our doorstep, is going to impact these children who've been isolated, who've been tortured by COVID, who missed, if for many, their only hot meal is at school. For many, they don't have tutors and Wi-Fi in private rooms and second homes. They're struggling. Their parents have to still work because they're in the economy that works. They're not in the economy that can afford to stay home. They're the people who are going to be so tragically impacted. And so I always wonder, a lot of this, is kind of across lines of Democrat versus Republican, and the Democrats claim they're standing for, those that can't help themselves. But I think the people getting hurt the most are those that can least afford it. And so the data is going to look really interesting and hopefully inform us the next time, unfortunately, we have to go through one of these things that, lockdowns make sense for a very short period of time, or if we really did them. And the only way to do a lockdown to stop a virus is to truly lock down. No airplanes, no cars, no trains. Everyone in the world locks down 2-3 weeks, and you wipe the virus off the face of the earth. But you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that's true as a family unit, as a work environment, as a country, as a state, as a city. And so as long as you're allowing some people to go out and collect the garbage and deliver the mail, and you're going to spread the virus. And so it's just, it's a complete nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, I know you being in Florida, it's like the repeat story. We have a very close friend, a very successful technology founder based out of New York. And he was looking for houses in Miami because he was just like, the school situation in New York it's going to torture my kid. And I was shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked when he said that.
Because he's a New York guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you define him as a New York guy, but I'm sure you've heard that story a million times.
And look, even like 6 months. The science guy in me says, okay, everybody wear masks. Masks make sense. Masks will slow the spread, right? I get that. I get why there are mask mandates, particularly for schools. We want to protect our children. They're the most vulnerable, important people. We want them to spend time with their parents, grandparents, friends, and whatnot. Wear a mask. The reality is, masks on children is like the stupidest thing ever. Do you ever go to a school where kids have to wear a mask? I have a few times. Not one kid wears a mask right. They wear it under their nose. They touch their face. They're rubbing their thing. They take it off to eat. All you're doing is psychologically scarring these kids. You're not actually protecting them. It's kind of like the CDC finally came out and said, "Gosh, if you have to require a mask on an airplane, but you take it off to eat, you've basically voided all the protection you've had." I mean, that's the same thing as the school. It's just complete. It's not data-based. It's not science-based. Yes, masks work, but that implies the mask is worn appropriately and used appropriately. 99% of the people don't do that. So masks actually don't work in our environment because we don't use them the right way.
I mean, like our my 3-year-old has speech class, and the instructor using a mask, how can he see speech with a mask?
He can't. And by the way, no kid in that at that age is wearing a mask the right way. And what kids, when I've raised a couple kids, they put everything in their mouths. They like to touch their mouths. They're always touching their face. You can't stop a kid. Now, could you train a 10-year-old? Maybe. A 13-year-old? Likely. But we don't. And we don't enforce them. We don't teach them how to wear the mask appropriately. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so is your view that, like, in terms of, like, I'll give an example. In Los Angeles, they wanted us to be locked down. We stayed locked down. They wanted us to do this. Don't go here. Don't do that. We all obeyed those rules. Go get the vaccine. We got the vaccine. Get the second shot. Got the second shot. Get the booster. We got the booster. We got Omicron. I had a runny nose. And now I'm like, because my wife and I were having this conversation as a family, how are we approaching it? And I'm like, we are moving the fuck on, because like we did everything we were told to do. And unless, like you said, unless the entirety of society follows the same exact rules, it doesn't matter. And like we see a noticeable difference in our 16-month-old compared to our 4-year-old when the same age. And it's clearly a developmental issue. Like
he hasn't seen anyone.
Yeah, the kid's met like 10 people his whole life.
The damage we did to children when this is all said and done look, everything has to be weighed with benefit risk, right? Every decision has to be made with the entire societal issues. The decisions we made around COVID were done for a single purpose initially. And we were letting a virologist decide it, which was, let's wipe out this virus at all costs. Let's pump. Yeah. Let's stop everybody from going to school. Let's stop everybody from going to work. Let's lock down the country. Let's put everybody in masks. Let's make everybody super afraid and scared. Let's overhype this thing, and we'll wipe it out. The flip side of that is how many kids are going to be, in the mental health, syndrome. How many kids are going to be developmentally delayed? How many people are isolated and left alone? How many pediatric wellness visits were missed and things picked up? How many cancer screenings were canceled? The totality of the public health crisis that's looming because we went on an extreme the other way is not being taken into consideration because it's harder to count and it will take longer to sort out. But the reality is, I think we made a huge public policy mistake. We should have focused on protecting the vulnerable, the elderly, the immunocompromised, the people with, 2 or more comorbidities, whatever, pick the number. But then focused on keeping society open and trying to normalize life for everyone, including children in particular.
So what do you think the balance? So at the peak of the virus, right? Call it, what was that? Spring 2020. The balance between what Florida did and what California did. You're a health expert. Where do you think it should have lied? Should it have been somewhere in between and then just open everything up?
I think the data, and again, we'll have to prove it, right? But my gut instinct is the data is going to show it made no difference. The only difference is the people in Florida lived a pretty normal life. Our kids went to school and, our economy thrived and people were generally happy. But our mortality, our death, our infection rate, everything is going to be the exact same as Florida and as New York and California, which closed. And so they basically tortured their citizens based on no data, on no science, for no reason.
Yeah, I guess my only counter to that, and obviously I defer to you because you've been in this space for decades, is California, like Los Angeles specifically, right? 12 million people. Los Angeles isn't West Hollywood and Beverly Hills. It's like outskirt communities that have multi-generational homes that have no choice but to go to work and come home. They brought the virus and everyone got it and older people died and whatnot. New York, kind of similar, more densely populated with, I think, 18 million people. And Florida just doesn't have that dynamic that California, LA, and New York did. So is the data a little skewed in terms of mortality rates in Florida versus how you look at LA and New York City?
Yeah, I mean, again, you'd have to normalize for it, and I haven't done that, so there could be some differences. But I would tell you, I think this is true. Again, I haven't Googled or checked the number. Florida has a much larger elderly population as a percent, and the elderly were more severely impacted. So I don't know. My sense is when you normalize for all the different variables, you're going to see something that looks, pretty much like it didn't matter whether you lock people down or not.
So then what do you think happens?
I know. I'm a perfect case. I had the original COVID. I have all 3 shots. I have two Pfizer and a Moderna booster, and I had Omicron. And I'm pretty careful. So yeah. It's going to happen. And I know people who died, unfortunately. I'm on the board of the hospital. I've seen some of the really sick places. It's a very unfortunate situation. But if we had put our resources on protecting those most in need of protection versus everybody, and we thought about it from a bigger public health perspective around, mental health, children, preventative care, screenings for cancer, all the things that should have been happening over the last 2 years, I think we would have had in totality a better public health outcome after we measure this 5 years from now.
Yeah, and what I don't understand is a place like California, how do you even get to the point where you start telling people to stop wearing masks? Because then it'll look like they were wrong all along. Because the virus is not going anywhere. It's just going to mull around.
I think they know the answer to that already.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'll go back. Wearing masks work, but you really have to wear them and wear them the right way. You have to
and wear the right mask. Yeah, I was wearing a cloth mask the whole time, which clearly now is showing is completely ineffective. Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the masks that people wear, they don't wear them. I mean,
the best is the mask. Everyone takes the mask off to have a conversation.
It's like at the grocery store yesterday. The lady literally pulled her mask down and said, "Look, the avocado's over there right now." I was like, "Great, thanks."
Did you just? I forget what he was eating. There was a guy on the plane. Did you see this on social media? There was a guy on a plane, like a 2.5 hour plane ride. He ate like one pretzel for the whole 2.5 hours because you don't have to wear it when you're eating.
So I guess here's the other question, though. Given how divided the country is, how bad social media gives misinformation, is it more divided? Meaning, LA schools are just going to be a shit show where your kids can't go to school for 2 weeks because of something, and the other side just doesn't give a shit. I'm just worried we never get back to where we were 2 years ago, and it's really scary.
Yeah, I think it's a real worry, and God knows where. Take the flip flopping on the vaccine. Remember when the vaccine was first coming out? It was the Trump vaccine, and the Democrats were never going to take it. Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, was setting up his own FDA commission to study it. He wasn't going to allow New Yorkers to get the vaccine. And then Biden comes in, and all of a sudden it's the Biden vaccine, and the Republicans don't want to take it. I mean, it's so insane.
It is. It's so insane. That's why I just don't see, I don't see an end to the chaos like on either side, and I don't see how in LA like our kids not wearing masks. Like, who's gonna have the balls like to finally stand up and say, you know what, our kids don't need to wear masks to school? Because by the way, we see the pictures at school. Sometimes the mask isn't on. So like you said, it's ineffective.
Yeah, you know what is going to happen? Unfortunately, and it's very sad, is you're going to see data, and it'll take a year or two or maybe 3. You're going to see data amongst children in LA County, for example, with higher suicide rates, higher depression rates, higher, developmental delays, falling off the standardized test curves, so on and so forth. And then they're going to realize masks were one of many, but one contributing factor to a lot of these things. And therefore, they're going to say, we need to remove the mask so that kids can go back to normal. Yeah. But it's going to take something really unfortunate like that.
What about just to that? The other thing that I actually think is going to have even a bigger impact is we have midterm elections coming up. If you're a Democrat, if you're strong on crime and removing masks, you probably win.
Yeah, but they won't do that. And I think it's widely known it's going to be a red tsunami, not a red wave in the midterms.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter what your political party is. That's just the facts, where the data is trending.
Yeah.
And already nationally, we've seen math and reading scores are down for kids.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, I'm aware of children in my circle of friends and family that, they're a grade behind.
That's crazy.
And they had access to a lot of things that many kids don't, tutors and their own Wi-Fi and their own computer. And they're a year behind. God, can you imagine what we did to most of America?
We got insane. Really good at dancing.
Someone has to step back and really look at this and say, this was a learning that we have to apply, because what we did to children, we should never forget.
Yeah, no. And I mean, we got really good at dancing as a country.
On TikTok.
Yeah. On TikTok. We're probably the best dancers in the world.
ByteDance was the biggest benefit.
Yeah, ByteDance, right? Definitely. If there was any conspiracy, I would go with ByteDance.
But you're going to go right back to China.
Exactly, yeah. I didn't want to insinuate that. I mean, you can't get out of it. And so,
you guys miss hearing, though, China.
Hey, I'll be the first to admit,
so good.
I'm the least Trump fan you can find, but that 2:30 press conference during COVID was blockbuster.
Yeah, it was so good.
tuned in every single day. You didn't know who he was going to make fun of, what reporter he was going to yell at. It was
the entertainment value is completely missing.
well, at least we got Biden say "stupid son of a bitch" yesterday. So we got a little bit.
I mean, our politics are a joke. The whole thing is a joke.
Yeah.
It is a joke.
And so, as far as what's happening in South Florida, like I know we saw like the initial wave of people kind of move in there and really start like establishing Miami as like something other than what it's always been known for. And I was down there for Art Basel. I hung out with Kevin, our mutual friend, and it was actually quite interesting how many like actually smart people now live in Miami. It wasn't like, I was kind of doubtful of like, I know families move there for school reasons and obviously wealthy people move there for tax reasons, but it felt like there was actually young, really smart, talented people that want to be in Miami over some of the more traditional places they've always been. Are you seeing that to continue, or now that the rest of the country is kind of getting back to normal, people are not feeling that way?
I actually see it in spades. It's so remarkable that what has happened. I mean, I was what they call a pioneer, right? I came a couple years pre-COVID to South Florida.
You're OG.
So I haven't been here that long, but by current standards, I've been here since the beginning. That's a joke, by the way. But I, as a New Yorker, one of the drawbacks of being down here was, the lack of business community and intellectual, conversations and entrepreneurism and innovation and all the things that I loved about the dynamic part of New York, or you probably like about LA. But, I spent a lot of time in Palo Alto and Silicon Valley as well. That's all here now, and it's here in spades. And I got to tell you, in the last just like 10 days, I've heard of more people, friends of friends that are, asking people for tours or restaurant reservations, coming in for house hunting. The real estate market's never been hotter. I get unsolicited offers on my home in my mailbox all the time. I mean, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. But, the flip side of it is they know if they come here that whether you like them or dislike them or agree with them or disagree with them, we're not shutting down and we're not closing schools, and life is going to go on.
I'm actually quite I'm actually quite shocked that people actually left. Like I wasn't, when I first heard of people leaving, like I'm not coming back, I was like, okay, I think it's just like a trend. And now, with our friend that we were talking about earlier, I was like, damn, people are like legit. They're not coming back.
I will say I think it was probably fall or winter of 2020. I don't know him, but I follow him on Twitter, and he's obviously really successful. Keith Brebois from Founders Fund. He was screaming from the mountaintop of like trying to build this like new Silicon Valley in Miami. And he tweets like every few days, like another founder moving. And
yeah,
I mean,
by the way, I see him from time to time. He lives near me. I got to tell you how many people like him are here. How many of the venture private equity guys from San Francisco? I mean, New Yorkers moving here, it doesn't surprise me anymore. But when I see the Silicon Valley people moving here, or I see the LA-based entrepreneurs or social media folks moving here, that shocks me still. And it's happening every day.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And so if you're a young person, let's say you're 25 years old and you could live anywhere, would you move to Miami?
I would say yes. The only reason I hesitated, the only jobs that still are being developed here are probably the pure, like what I would think of in Silicon Valley. I'm on the board of Cisco. I spent a lot of time out there, as you guys know. That kind of pure tech, world isn't quite here yet. We have massive crypto and blockchain companies coming. We have a lot of financial services, fintech, healthcare, and things like that. But that's still that pure kind of Silicon Valley tech stuff isn't quite where it would be vis-a-vis, perhaps in Austin or a Silicon Valley.
That's interesting. Yeah,
but it's coming.
And how much did Mayor Suarez have to do with this kind of revolution.
I'll give him a lot of credit. I like him. I'll give him a lot of credit for the crypto, stuff. I think he really opened his arms, to that community and brought a lot of those folks here, both the people working on the blockchain themselves, the technologists, as well as the traders and finance people. And he's made it very comfortable for them to be here. And he personally is very involved in it. So he's the best cheerleader right, for them. But, I think that stuff was coming. I think he gave him a great push and a lot of support. So I think being welcomed by a politician, if you're in the business community, is such an odd and rare thing in America today.
Yeah. Which is crazy how
it feels like you have to be against.
How simple it is. He's just like, I'm pro-business, anti-crime.
Yeah.
And I want kids in schools.
Yeah. He's a hero.
That's all he has to be.
You saw what he did when the defund the police stuff was going on. He basically put out ads everywhere saying, if you're a good police officer, we welcome you to Florida. We have jobs for you. And we recruited all these policemen here.
That is crazy. And so what's he doing about the transportation issue? Because the traffic in Miami is a bit of a joke. Like there was an accident on the Venetian Causeway where one car, when I was there in December, got into an accident. One car. I mean, 6-8 hours. The whole damn thing was just shut down. Like you couldn't go. I walked. You know where the Venetian Causeway is. I walked from there to Soho House. It took me like an hour and a half.
I was going to say, I live on the Venetian, off the Venetian Causeway, so I live there, and I know exactly what accident you're talking about. It was in fairness, I think it was a fatality, which is why I put a little long. Okay. But yes, traffic here is definitely an issue, but it's still worse in LA, at least the LA I remember. There's a lot of new roads being built. There's a whole new causeway going in. And the thing that I find interesting about them building these things here, and these are massive public works, you actually see the people working, and every day I drive by and you see progress. Yeah. I mean, how many times I've been through construction projects in New York, like getting through the Hudson Tunnel in New York. I lived there forever. That project was going on the whole 10 years I lived there, and I never saw progress.
Yeah. That's very true. So it's interesting. So you're bullish on Miami. You feel like
have you even been to LA since we last spoke? Or is LA not even on your radar? You're like, screw it.
Well, I've been to Long Beach a bunch of times because my company I chair is headquartered there. I came up to LA. I flew in and out of LA, but I didn't spend much time. But I spent a few nights there the one time, and it was not as pleasant as I remember it to be. It's just not. I mean, no offense. It's still one of my favorite cities. I love New York and I love LA, and it's just New York has some energy returning to it, at least in Lower Manhattan. But I just didn't feel that yet.
Yeah, it's spotty. It's spotty. There's young people that are keeping the city alive, but everyone else is, they're either scared or, judging people if they're out. So it's like,
I mean, I went out to dinner last night with he's in town with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. A friend of mine, and he's very careful with COVID because of his taping schedule and everything else. So he's incredibly thoughtful about it. So we sat outside in a corner table, away from everybody, so on and so forth, masks on, the whole 9 yards. He follows the whole, and out of respect, I do it for him. And I went in to go to the bathroom Monday night in a restaurant in Miami. It felt like it was Saturday night and they were giving away free shots. I mean. It was arm to arm, but I mean, and that's every restaurant in Miami. Every night of the week.
I went to maybe 10 spots in 3-4 days. I mean, lunch, breakfast, doesn't matter. Everything was slammed.
Yeah, and this is just a regular Monday. You were in Art Basel. There's nothing going on in Miami this week. I mean,
the running joke is every week is Art Basel in Miami.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I always say about Miami, the two things that are still missing, despite how crazy it is and how busy it is, more or less we're missing, I think, 6 to 8 million cruisers that go on cruise ships. And we're missing somewhere around 7 or 8 million international tourists, mostly from Latin America, but also European, that come to Miami during the season. They're not here
Oh
the
my
last 2
God.
years.
And it's still that busy.
And it's right. So think about when it normalizes and those two constituents start showing up back here. It's going to be, it's going to put, I don't even know. What's
Yeah, that is crazy.
You're going to get 10 more offers on your home. That's what's going to happen.
There's nowhere to go, right?
Yeah, you have to move. That's the problem.
I'll come to LA. Arbitrage.
Amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. That was a really great update. And we'll probably more likely see you in Miami than probably in LA. So,
well, next time you come, that's all.
Yeah. We'll definitely do that. We'll come in a more normal time of the year. That Art Basel was
all right. My treat.
That's great.
My
all
treat.
right. Thank you. We'll don't worry. I drink expensive shit, so I'll take advantage.
All right. No fear. No fear. Come on.
All right. Thank you. All right. That was great. Always informative, Brent Saunders.
Yeah, and it's good to get a different perspective from Florida, which I think he actually is measured, and it's not like the vaccines don't work, masks don't work mantra, which is what you assume someone from Florida is. I thought he gave a pretty balanced perspective, and I think people need to evolve.
Yeah, it's okay to evolve.
Yeah.
I followed all the rules and I felt that was the right thing to do at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't feel like that's the right thing to do.
And that's the problem, right? We've tribalized everything in society. So once you pick a tribe, you're not allowed to leave your tribe.
Well, speaking of tribes, like the tribe changes based on your situation. Like Rams game, which we went to last week, I don't remember wearing a mask.
No.
Walked in maybe.
Right.
And then after that, it was
a free-for-all.
Yeah. And so...
I've been to a few Laker games and you don't wear a mask.
Yeah. That to his point is if you're not going to follow it all the way through.
Sure. That's the point. If you don't, it's like the airplane joke that he made. Like when you're eating pretzels, you don't have to have a mask, but every time else.
Yeah, take your time, eat your pretzels.
Yeah, it's the same. You walk in a restaurant and at the host stand, you have to wear a mask, and then once you sit down, COVID disappears.
Yeah, it does. Well, you know what?
Cabernet kills it.
You know what hasn't disappeared? NFL fans.
Yeah.
Unbelievable weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it on Sunday night, just like what an incredible weekend it was. But the numbers have come out on the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills game, and holy shit, 42.7 million people watched the Chiefs. It peaked with 51 million viewers. Do you understand? 51 million Americans were doing this same exact thing.
I was one of them.
Yes.
Arguably the greatest football weekend of all time.
Yeah, and it just shows the product of the NFL is just like nothing else in entertainment, right? Like what is, because the number of 51 million people in a fragmented content society is fucking bonkers.
And let's be clear that sure, it's star-studded. You have two of the best quarterbacks, but these aren't like large market teams.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo and Kansas City.
Well, I think that argument doesn't matter.
It only doesn't matter in the NFL.
Yeah.
I feel like it matters in every other sport.
Yeah.
Because the NFL is so unique in that a team in Buffalo can compete with a team in LA in terms of like attracting talent, signing people. And I'm curious is it the only reason why cities don't matter in the NFL versus the NBA is because you're only there for like 4 months. Whereas the NBA, you're there for like 8 to 10 months. So you're just like, here's a sprint. I want to go to the best situation. Because, for example, right now, the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA are like this young, hot team. Who's signing there?
Yeah.
That they don't draft.
Yeah.
Whereas if Memphis had or Kansas City can get anyone.
Yeah.
Right? They can sign the next.
Or even Green Bay.
Green Bay can get anyone.
Yeah.
As long as Aaron Rodgers is playing, as long as Patrick Mahomes, and Memphis is building this core in the NBA, but we know for a fact when who's the next big free agent? I don't know, Bradley Beal, call it. He's not signing in Memphis.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, it doesn't matter. What city you live in?
I think it's also just the sport in general. And I think it's the excitement of the sport. This fan, like every NFL stadium is fucking packed. I mean, I am shocked at Rams games. I went to 2 this season. It's slammed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is LA where no one gives a shit about anything. You know, like...
And a team that, frankly, doesn't have any history for the people that are showing up.
Yeah.
Right? They've been here, 5 years?
They just happen to be good, so I think that helps. But, like, I think Chargers games are packed, too. Everything's packed. I think it's just NFL. It's just, like, the best entertainment product. These franchises, I mean, think about it. $2-3 billion is an NFL team?
Starting.
That's cheap. There's shitty startups worth $2-3 billion that we know are full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Peloton is still worth $8-9 billion. Would you rather own the Rams or Peloton?
Yeah, of course, the Rams.
Yeah. Does anyone on earth want to own Peloton?
And they're about to re-up a TV deal, I think, in the next... I don't know if it's this year or next year.
I mean, these numbers are bunk. They're higher than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually going up. I mean, TV is being held on by a thread by the NFL.
Yeah, no one else is watching TV for pretty much anything else.
No.
Because the other like sports shows on ESPN get hundreds of thousands of viewers. This got 51 million.
51 million.
Yeah, it's a staggering number.
It's just insane. I can't think of what else in America in the last 4 years did 51 million people to put aside Super Bowl. It's just football related.
And it's unbelievable that the NFL, which is no shortage of controversy from concussions, the way players get treated, the way they, injuries.
It's about your product.
Lifelong
no one cares.
derailment.
It's product. It's the product.
But no, why is the NFL the one thing that unifies the country?
Because
We
it's
can't
so
get
good.
unified on anything.
But the product is so good. It's like In-N-Out. Does anyone hate In-N-Out?
You have those stupid New Yorkers and Boston people that say like Shake Shack's better.
Nobody
and
says
In-N-Out
that.
sucks. No, that's a story. That's a narrative.
Well, those guys are morons.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Don't you? Isn't that true?
I've never been to an In-N-Out. And
What?
None of my friends have been to one either.
East Coast folks hate In-N-Out.
I
Oh,
don't.
you're an elitist.
I mean, I don't eat meat. Why do you go to
Grilled
In-N-Out?
cheese?
Grilled cheese is incredible.
You can make a grilled cheese.
No, you can't make it like that.
Animal style
fries, grilled cheese. Holy shit.
You should
Well, now I
leave
gotta
this
try it.
podcast today and go straight to an In-N-Out. That's where you should go. There's one in Hollywood. There's one in Westwood. There's one in Culver City.
Okay,
You
that
have
is what I'll do.
Very easy access to all three.
Yeah, just give me your card. I'll do it.
It's probably going to cost you $15. I'll Venmo you. If
Okay,
necessary.
perfect.
But yeah, it's just an incredible product. The amount of people, like, even when you think about social media and like how fragmented social media is, or even like, all these very popular shows on Netflix, but you're talking like engaged, excited. And I'll tell you the one thing, for sports, Twitter is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Twitter for the first time in a very, very long time because like I hate fucking Web3 talk. It's so irritating and annoying. I hate every person giving advice on how to run Facebook ads every day. I get
follow
it.
those people?
I mean, everyone does. It's just everyone's doing it. I don't mind people talking about like business. It's great. It's informative. It's helpful to people, and I like it. And I get it. You should do it to promote your personal brand, your business, and all. But some people just don't give it a break. It's like Christmas Eve. You should be thinking about blah, blah. I was like, whoa. Sunday, I don't care what you did. You were talking about football. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And obviously I was making all these ridiculous things just to like piss people off and whatever. But like,
I love how serious people take you.
it's insane.
Like you're clearly just trying to trolling and
Yes.
annoy people.
Yes.
And they get so offended.
So offended. It's unbelievable. That's why I have to do it. Like someone tweeted at me today who listens to the podcast that I agree Billions is better than Succession. I retweeted him and said Succession is for dweebs. Obviously, this is to annoy people.
Yeah, and you probably annoyed a lot of people.
What's interesting is that Brian Koppelman, the creator of Billions, liked that guy's tweet.
Really?
Yeah. Because he agrees. He
Of
knows
course,
better.
He made a ton of money on Billions.
Yeah. Maybe billions.
Maybe billions.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season.
It's the last thing holding the country together.
Yes.
So the NFL just needs to go 365 days a year.
I was thinking like on this weekend, Netflix, Amazon, no matter where, they're just showing NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing. Like, when you think about content, there's just so much content. And this is why it wasn't surprising to me that Netflix missed their subs. Like, who was watching Netflix on Sunday? Clearly no one.
No, there were still 200, 300 million people that were doing something else.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there's so much competition for your attention. It's shocking that the NFL can still draw like this.
Yeah.
Because no one else can.
Yeah. Great. I love it. I think it's great for the country. It's great for, it's just a way for people to come together over something. It is like you can just have a conversation and it won't be riled up because it's just about sports. Can anyone disagree that might have been the greatest sporting event ever to witness?
Yeah, and it's the one thing where we've mentioned this before, when sports, like, we can scream and yell as friends that one team hates the other team.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one takes it no one takes it seriously. It's just fun and entertainment.
Yeah.
Because I was betting on the Bills and I'm in my fantasy football chat, a bunch of Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
And so I was talking shit nonstop. They were talking shit to me. I screamed Bills Mafia after the Josh Allen touchdown, thinking it's over. Yeah, and then they win and they start talking shit to me. But it's all good fun.
And more importantly, we get to see Jackson Mahomes next week on TikTok.
That's why there's like this like growing chorus on Twitter. It's mean, but they're like, someone's got to stop Jackson Mahomes from being part of the Super Bowl. Meaning the Bengals need to win.
I know that they said, I saw the meme, Joe Burrows is the only thing that can stop Jackson Mahomes. I want to see Jackson Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
You want to do a few dances on
he's
the field?
blockbuster. That kid is blockbuster. I love it. He annoys people so much. That's what I aspire to do.
He does annoy a lot of people.
Yes. You know what's even more annoying? That $761 billion of returns happened last year.
And how does that compare, though?
Well, here's the thing. Returns is such a crazy kind of industry in itself. So retail returns jumped to an average of 16.6% in 2021 versus the previous year, it was 10.6%. And obviously, this is having to do with just online sales rapidly increasing. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing that huge increase. If average is 16.6%, think about all the things that never get returned. You're not returning paper towel, toilet paper, raspberries. Like all of those things are never getting returned. So the actual return rate for call it perishable goods it's probably insane. Like take away essentials. Like you're not returning batteries.
No.
If you bought AA batteries.
And it didn't work, you just throw them away.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to wrap my head around what are return rates. So the average rate of returns for online purchases was 20.8%. But this includes all those things I talked about, like Amazon type stuff. I just think the return rate when you exclude the essential purchases is way higher, which is a real big fucking problem. Auto parts have the highest return rates, average of 19.4%.
And this is the issue though, right? Every company had to adapt to the Amazon model. Amazon lets you return whatever you want. They don't question it and they just credit you.
Yeah.
And so if you're an online retailer and you want to compete with Amazon, you have to have these generous return policies. And it eats into your margins. And it's part of the reason why no D2C brand can make money.
Yeah.
And all these startups are just hemorrhaging cash and can't create real profitable businesses because Amazon has basically trained everyone. This is the way a consumer experience should be, which is an amazing thing for a lot of consumers. But it's really hard. It really hurts other entrepreneurs trying to build a business.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, handling returns are so expensive. So if you're a listener and you have a business, you understand this. But if you don't, I'll give you an example. If you use, depending on the service level, so let's say you use UPS or FedEx, to take a return back for some of our packages, the average package from an apartment building back to us is like $10+ to take it back.
Mm-hmm.
$10+. So if you offer free returns and exchanges and you have 20% returns and exchanges, this doesn't even account for exchanges. This is returns. So $10 just to take it back. Plus you have to quality control the product you just got. Make sure that that's still sellable. I mean, the labor, it's like, and margins have been compressed. Costs have gone up. Freight's gone up. Like, you're in a pretty tough situation. This is why I'm not bullish on D2C e-commerce, but there's too many headwinds. There's obviously all the Facebook issues. There's supply chain issues. There's freight issues. FedEx and UPS are not getting cheaper. They're getting more expensive. And then you add on top of the fact that like you're basically competing against Amazon, who just can offer free returns and exchanges all the time. And I think it's going to be really tough for small, mid-sized D2C brands to compete on the internet.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think you're seeing it just from like the way venture dollars are talking. You don't see D2C brands getting funded anymore.
No, not like they used to.
Like 6-7 years ago.
You are seeing big deals because they've proven, like our Rothy's got a big deal.
Sure.
Gymshark. But they've proven that they
had already gone viral.
Yeah.
Right? So my guess is Rothy's customer acquisition went down as they got bigger versus going up.
Nah, I wouldn't believe that yet.
Maybe, but
that's the
only way D2C works.
By the way, we had a video on TikTok that got a lot of views because we were talking about Croc's acquisition of Hey Dude. Because we were like, what is that?
Yep.
Apparently they reached out. We're getting some free Hey Dudes.
Some free Hey Dudes.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Some free dudes?
Yeah, free dudes. Dude for you, dude for you. So I'm excited to give them a whirl and see what happens. Well, we'll see. Next topic, final topic of the day before we jump into a very special interview with Ian Rogers. He is in Paris as usual, but a lot of updates on Ledger. We'll get into that in a second. Final topic. The SAT is finally changing. Holy shit. What took so long? I'm blown away.
So aren't some colleges not even requiring SATs anymore?
That was this year. I think that was a COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a permanent thing. Maybe some are permanent, but it is digital. It's shorter and it's simpler. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So so apparently SAT has lost market share to its rival, the ACT, which is crazy.
I don't know.
76% of all 4-year colleges and universities won't mandate an entrance exam for admission. That's huge.
Yeah, so it's 3/4 of the universities.
Yeah. So in 2020, the UC system dropped the exam.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think the SAT is perfect. I don't think any standardized exam can be perfect. But you do need a benchmark if you're a university to admit students. And I get it, there are economic disadvantages to lower income communities who can't afford the tutoring that like I was able to get. But what's the solution? Where's the middle ground? Making it simpler, then everyone's going to score well. So how do you determine which kids should get in and which kids shouldn't?
Yeah.
I know it's complex, and I don't think scoring high in the SAT means you're smarter than someone who scored lower.
But you need to compare apples and apples, and SAT's allowed for that.
Yeah. And you're going into a larger point of just like income inequality and access to education, and or just make all the universities, just everyone's virtual. You can go get a Stanford degree and anyone can get a Harvard degree and anyone can get a UCLA degree. Just everything is online and you get to choose which school you go to. And if you're able to pass those tests for those universities, then you get a Stanford degree. Doesn't matter if you're in Compton or in Palo Alto.
That won't happen because there's enough people that don't want that to happen.
Of course. You have, like, Harvard has a $37 billion endowment. That doesn't exist if everyone's allowed to get a Harvard degree.
Exactly. So if I'm Harvard, I never change the rules. It's elite for the foreseeable future, right? Because
but those are the conversations that need to be happening, in my opinion, that these universities are all nonprofits. A lot of them get government funding. Like, okay, so why can't the UCs? That's funded by the state.
Yeah.
So why can't the UCs open it up? And if you're smart enough to pass a UCLA exam, you get a UCLA degree.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. So everyone gets a degree.
If you're smart enough,
Yeah.
open it up is my point.
Yeah.
So that anyone, regardless of what their income background is, regardless of what, anything.
Here's the problem.
Like, why, like, how stupid was it in high school when we went to high school? Like, people would fake volunteer on the weekends so they could throw it on their college application.
Yeah.
Or get someone to sign off on, like, they did 100 hours at somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all fraud.
Yeah.
The way to get into college, you just game it.
Yeah. So let's just say, hypothetically, let's take UCLA since it's a state school. Anyone can attend the virtual lectures.
Sure.
Okay. Maybe you have to get into the physical campus. You have to be admitted by their standards. But anyone can pay and take virtual classes.
Yeah, like a $25 a class.
Yeah, whatever.
Because there's zero cost to open it up.
Yeah. So the reason why I like that is that you're going to weed everyone out anyways.
Yeah, because the kids that don't want to get a UCLA degree aren't going to get one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's going to sit 4 years and do exams unless you really want it?
Yeah. So that goes back to, you don't actually solve the problem because who's going to do that? Rich kids, people with the means.
Well, at least it's a start.
Yeah.
Where just because, your parents couldn't afford SAT tutors, you couldn't get in UCLA.
Yeah. And they suck at sports.
Yeah, and USC's going to wipe their fucking floor with UCLA. Sorry, UCLA fans.
Yeah, it's interesting. But look, I think it's such a big business. SATs is a big business.
Yeah.
Tutoring, there's a lot of money involved and a lot of people are...
I could say very confidently if our parents couldn't afford SAT tutor for me, my score would be significantly lower.
Yeah, of course. And that's my point. The greater point is even if you opened up UCLA, there will be a small portion of people from lower incomes that are going to go, because the counter will be, well, this person needs to work. They're not able to sit and study. It's a never ending. I don't know how
it's self-selecting.
Yeah.
And what if you save 100 kids that now have a UCLA degree and can go get a nice job?
Yeah.
100 kids. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Isn't it the same argument with the SAT though? Like, you can't afford a tutor for the SAT. You couldn't afford extra help or like tutors to get a degree from UCLA.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I think there should be in the perfect world, I'm just like spitballing. There's a virtual way to get a UCLA degree and there's a physical way. You need some sort of benchmark to decide who is able to be in the physical school or, I don't know. It's complicated. I'm not saying there's an easy solution.
I think
but letting state schools open fully online so that anyone can if you want to get a UC Santa Cruz degree, go get a UC Santa Cruz degree. And I think that's a start.
Okay. So what does that have to do with the SAT?
No, we're saying it has nothing to do with SATs.
Okay.
We're just saying...
I'm just saying a larger idea of how to
you know what the
solve
problem
the
is?
fact that some kids don't have access to the things that I did that can't get into college.
So you're still in support to get rid of the SATs.
I mean, you need something to measure kids.
Yeah. Well, you have if you want to go to law school, you got to take the LSATs, right?
Yeah.
I think you have more specific standardized testing, for
graduate programs,
for programs that people want to go to specifically versus the SAT score for absolutely anyone going to study any degree, it's like somebody who's a genius in one field is going to do terribly in the SATs if they're not a genius in all the other fields.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to get accepted into a school and become the productive member of society that they could. You know? I think it makes sense.
But you know, to that point, like in society, like you have to do things that you're not good at to get to a step further, right? Like some people have to wash dishes at night so that they get to pursue their dream during the day, right? Like it's just the sacrifice you make. And I think for I'll give you an example. Like when you look at India and Indian citizens, education is the number one priority for the youth. People will fucking give up everything so their children are educated, highly educated, not just like graduate high school, like go to college, get a graduate degree, like. And honestly, it has served education has served Indian people better than any other community on earth. Like it just has, right? The problem with in America, in like, I don't know what it, you know, growing up, I think we were surrounded by a lot of families, very diverse, where education was a priority. I don't know if that's the same priority as it was, right? So if families now don't think that education suits their children the best way, then they're going to find different paths for their kids to kind of develop, which is fine. The problem is the rest of the world is still on that same track of like, we're going to go, like, dude, we have four cousins who basically grew up in Bangalore with very little means, like very fucking little. One of them is at Amazon. One of them is at Apple. One of them is at Facebook. And they are all,
they're all millionaires.
Millionaires. They're in their 20s. It is nuts. Mm-hmm. And even, I'll give you an example. There's the guy, Sam. I don't know if you guys remember. He had messaged us during the pandemic. He had a gym business and personal trainer, I think. And he kind of shut it down. And he went all in, went to code school, got it. He's saying he's about to make $200,000 a year.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. You can eliminate tests. You can eliminate all these things. Unfortunately, as you get older, performance is the only thing that's going to determine whether you succeed or not. And it doesn't matter what field you're in. And
I think it does matter. I think like, you know, people who are in the world of coding are not being asked to do, you know, like talk about the biology of a cell all the time. But like those are going to be questions on an SAT.
But that's the beauty of the new workforce. You don't need to go to a computer science program at UCLA to go get a job at a hot tech company. You have to prove you can code. That's it.
Right. So there's, instead of an SAT, if someone wanted to get a higher education in the world of coding, which I imagine will become available very soon.
It is.
Right?
It's right now. There's
available.
Like 20 different coding schools you can go to.
Yeah. There should be a standardized testing just for coding, you know? So that way we aren't like destroying somebody's chance at a higher education just because they've sacrificed time in algebra to study, you know,
I will say,
chemistry.
Like, in technology companies, college degrees don't matter anymore. And if you can prove you have the skill set to perform, you will get hired, especially at startups. And specifically in crypto, like Paradigm, which is one of the leading, it's a Paradigm and Andreessen Horowitz are the two best crypto funds in the world. And at Paradigm, I don't even know if their like hires even went to college. One's 19, one's 18, and these is literally the best in their field. And I think technology's evolved where they just say like, perform. So how do we get other industries to figure out just perform? Because I think that's also why you see so many advancements in technology companies, because they're pretty agnostic to just like blind badges, meaning like, sure, if you went to Stanford, you're going to get a job, but like you don't have to anymore. Like think about our three cousins. They're at Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. They went to schools in Bangalore that no one's ever heard of, but they show that they can perform.
Yeah, but education is, of course, like key there. Like, I think the reputability of like big name schools is obviously pretty bullshit. But like having some system of education, of higher education available to people who have passions for this versus just saying, well, you have the internet, you should be smarter, is, you know, not going to create the best workforce. The best workforce is if we encourage people to get a higher education. I know countries that pay people to go to college because it should be your job to know how to do like what you want to do very well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think we just have to get like young people motivated on learning again. That's like but it's like, at some point you have to have that ambition in your life. Like it's known if you're educated, you make more money. So if you choose not to get educated, that's on you. Information is so free flowing. This isn't China where it's like hiding this information. You just go look at the Forbes list and go look at where they went to college. It so happens to be like 4 fucking places, right? So it's like,
but that'll change in like 15 years.
Sure, but my point
right
is
now it matters.
It will always give you a leg up. Like being highly educated will always give you a leg up. I don't see a world where being very well educated hurts your chances in life.
It won't hurt for sure, but I don't think it's going to be a necessary badge you're going to need over the next 20 years.
That's fine. I'm just saying it will always guarantee you a place in society.
It guarantees you a baseline of income that you will always be able to earn.
Yeah, which is where most people live in society.
Yeah.
Like that is where you want to live. And if you don't, you may want to hit up Paris and go meet up with Ian Rogers from Ledger because they are doing some insane stuff over there with their hardware wallet. And I got a chance to connect with him. One, about what the hell is going on in crypto. And then NFT talk, he kind of gave me some game on some of these new places where he's enjoying his time. And then their big announcement, the Ledger Fendi collab and how it came about. And it's interesting because there was a lot of comments about this. We're like, you're going to walk around with your Ledger? We're going to get robbed working Ledger? And he brought up a very valid point. So listen in, tune in, and we will see you Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Or should we do a final?
Yeah, maybe transition into it and then do an outro.
Yeah, so don't even use that.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that action-packed episode with 2 heavy hitter guests. We will see you on Thursday. Have a great rest of your week.
Peace.
All right, everyone. We have our favorite guest back, Ian Rogers from Ledger. And I mean, I think the timing of this conversation is amazing because it feels, all I see on the internet are a lot of memes about buying the dip. And and I'm curious in your personal kind of opinion, and obviously this is not financial advice, but are you buying the dip?
I am buying the dip. So I'm happy to share. It's not financial advice. Anybody that would listen to, a 50-year-old skateboarder from Indiana for financial advice is foolish anyway, but I don't mind telling you what I'm doing. And I think, one thing I think that NFTs have definitely become an actual addiction. So that's one interesting thing.
That's a big change.
Yeah. And, it's funny because, I can talk about that, but because I'm to be honest, I'm not sure I've said that out loud until this moment. So I think, yes. Hello. My name's Ian.
Hi, my name is Ian. I'm addicted to NFTs.
I'm an NFT-aholic. I admit that I hit reload on object.com like 50 times a day just to see like if any of the artists I follow have like posted something new because I'm afraid that they have and I missed it. But I share it because I think it's kind of a fun journey. But on the practical side, it's funny because a couple weeks ago when things were down, I meant to like rebalance my portfolio, and my girlfriend managed to get me out of the house instead. And then Monday everything went up, and I was like, oh shit, I missed it. And so when things were crashing last weekend, I was like, okay, I'm not missing this. I was excited. Actually, because I've been looking for like a moment to buy back in. Now, and not that I was out, but I had actually some dollars that I wanted to move into crypto, and I had them kind of sitting there ready to go, and with my finger on the trigger. Now, what I ended up doing is I ended up just sort of dollar cost averaging in. In other words, I had an amount of money set aside. I divided that number by 20. And I decided to just buy that much every week for 20 weeks. And the reason is that, I was just kind of doing my own research and realizing that, if you're listening to smart people in the space, this could be, this could be down for a while, like through the end of Q2, pretty easily. And if that's the case, then, I either want to, kind of write it down or take the average over what happens over the next couple of quarters. So that's why I just, I just kind of picked a rough number and divided and then went in. And then what I'm doing personally is I'm kind of putting half of that into Bitcoin, half of it into Ethereum, and then I take not a full half. Let's say I take 35% of the total and put it into Ethereum, 35% into Bitcoin, and then the rest over some projects that I believe in, in small amounts, kind of like 1% to 3%, depending on, how much I believe in them. I like Solana. I buy a lot of NFTs on Tezos. I think that there are other projects out there that are interesting, like Avalanche, like there are like Terra, like Solana, and so I'm taking kind of smaller positions there, but just to play and watch and learn and if something goes crazy, then it'll be fun to watch, and if not, then I'm not risking all that much. But that's what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So in other words, like I don't believe I can pick the bottom, so I just do it every week, and then it'll average out, and I'll pay the right price. And again, the other thing for me is my horizon is 6 to 10 years. So my belief is that there'll be a lot of volatility in the space, but over the next 6 to 10 years, a monkey could probably get rich in crypto through a strategy like that.
And then when you think about NFTs, are you buying NFTs for the novelty of it and because it's fun, or are you putting like real dollars, like you're buying your crypto into NFTs?
Well, I'm definitely spending too much.
Yeah.
But, like I could, if I try to look at it from an asset allocation standpoint, then I would be over my allocation for sure. I think a couple things. First of all, it's just a journey, and I'm enjoying the journey. And so, this kind of playing around, and seeing what happens. So I don't really have any blue chips. I don't have any Bored Apes or CryptoPunks or anything like that. I do have some fluffs, which have turned out to be valuable. I also bought one of Kevin Rose's Proof Collective NFTs, which is super interesting because that's actually the part that has made me fall in love with it to some degree, because being in a community of people who are really interested in art is fun, and you think about it kind of over the not necessarily longer term, but it's like when you do anything you've never done before. You start and you don't really know much of anything at all, and then you go on and not only do you learn more, but your eye becomes more refined. I'm not saying I'm an art critic. Don't get me wrong, but your sort of your palette expands a bit, and you start to see things that you didn't see before, and I love that feeling. I love that feeling of kind of, it's like going into a new genre of music. And before you thought it was all garbage. And then you find out like, oh, wait, I actually like this a lot. And this thing that everyone else likes, I hate. And you know what I mean? You just sort of find your own path, and you find out that, you find your taste in a way.
Yeah. But
the thing that I think is super fun that I would recommend for everybody is going into the Tezos community. So there's actually, it's all pretty DIY, feels very indie rock, but that's also what's fun about it. It's affordable. I'm buying things that cost $1 or $2. Like when you really go crazy, you're spending $70. And so, but the thing I like about it is it's a totally different feeling, right? Buying NFTs in the world of Ethereum just feels like gambling. Right. So, and going to Vegas is fun. Don't get me wrong. Right. Yeah. But, when I'm like spending, really, I'm spending $60 just to move a piece around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just to like look at my art, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But because of gas fees and whatnot. But on Tezos, it's not that at all. It's really just a community of artists, and people do really cool stuff. There's great artists and cool drops, and like this artist, Brandon Mighty did a drop last night, and he's like, I'm gonna, the top. I think he said top 12 people our top 12 bids are gonna get this piece, and I put in a bid that was not all that high. It's not a lot of money, but he's a real artist. And there's other things like, I found a photographer who sells things on Foundation for a lot of money, but she sells them really cheap on Tezos. And
wow.
So it's like a community. And that
where are you buying the stuff on Tezos? Like what site?
So the chain is Tezos, so it's right. I should tell you where. But it's an interesting thing because there used to be this website called Hick and Nunk. But the guy literally just walked out the door. I think he was tired of criticism, and he was just like, "Fuck you guys, you don't like me, I'm out." And he just shut the site down. So the whole community had to move. So now there's a couple of sites. The one that I use most is called Object, OBJKT. And then there's another new one called Versum that some people are posting on. There's another version of Hick and Nunk that I don't really understand what that one is. I don't really use it so much. So I don't know. Mostly I use Object, objkt.com. And I totally recommend it. It's super fun. And what I like about it, there's this look, if you're paying $2 for an NFT, it's not so different than walking up to the guitar player on the street on the promenade and putting $2 in his guitar case. You know what I mean? And you have a feeling that happens when you do that. You know what I mean? Like you have this feeling of being a patron of the arts, a feeling of just saying to an artist like, "Hey, I like that." I found this guy that all he does is animate kickflips. So it's like, Godzilla doing a kickflip, a baby doing a kickflip, the Statue of David doing a kickflip. Like it's so silly, So it's not all like, it doesn't all look like a movie poster for Dune. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is also on the art side, I think there's some really cool stuff going on. I just feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I also feel like you can feel it kind of going from, like cartoon baseball cards or maybe like Garbage Pail Kids, which is what it's felt like over the past year, to art and galleries. All this generative art is like just mind blowing. I bought these pieces. I bought 6 pieces this morning, and it cost me a little bit of money, right? Like, I think I spent, I don't know, probably on the order of $1,000 this morning on these 6 pieces, gas and everything. But they're generative art. They're like, they do look like the cover of the book Dune. Like it's like sci-fi generative. But man, there's really cool stuff. Oh, there's another site called FX Hash, which is where people do this like cheap generative art. So at the other end of the spectrum, I bought something today for half a Tezos. I bought 2 of them actually, which is like $2 for 2. But what it is it's all generative, and so what you're really buying is the instructions to draw the art.
Oh wow!
Right? I just it's really cool. And so when you mint it, you actually wait in a queue. I think I'm still waiting for mine. You actually wait in a queue for it to be built. And this site, by the way, is only open for a few hours a day. They actually shut it down for a few hours because I think it's so rickety that they need to like man it. Like if they can't like just leave it on while they go to sleep, so they turn it off. Anyway, like, it's so much fun, man. That's what I'm addicted to. For me, I'm not addicted to flipping Bored Apes for crypto toads. That has nothing to do with my NFT life.
Okay, that's great. Well, moving on to which was a huge announcement. Last week actually is Ledger and Fendi collaboration. I mean, that was all over the internet. I saw you on a bunch of pictures and videos talking about it. I could guess how it came to be, but I'm curious to see how it actually happened.
Well, here's the story. I was, I've obviously long history with LVMH. Very friendly with the CEO of Fendi, who I think is incredibly good at his job. And he had one of my favorite quotes of COVID for fashion. He said to me, I think it would have been May 2020. He said, "Ian, you know what we need? We probably need less square footage, more people to talk to customers. Those people need better tools to talk to those customers wherever they live. And if we build a store, it had better be a temple to the brand, and it's going to have a broadcast studio in it."
Wow.
And I just was like, to me, it was like, he just said it as if it was like what was on the top of his head. And like, I think I just said it word for word because I've like played his words over and over in my head. And I said, Serge, man, I think you just described like the next 10 years of luxury. Like, I think that you cracked it. And I liked it because it's so much more than what most people talk about when it comes to luxury, right? Because he's actually talking about that thing that makes luxury, which is that connection to the consumer. And I want to throw one more thing in there just to bridge these two segments, talking about NFTs to talking about luxury. I was with this guy named Antoine Audinet, I think that's how you say his last name, on Saturday, who works at Gucci. And he looks after Gucci Vault. We were standing there. We were actually talking to Nicola, who's the CEO of Ami, Frederic Arnault, who's the middle of the three younger Arnault sons, and Pascal Gauthier, who's the CEO of Ledger. We're all standing at the NFT Paris conference talking. And Antoine, he said, luxury and NFTs are about the same thing. I was like, okay. He said they're about creativity, scarcity, and community. And I was like, wow, okay. I definitely committing that to memory, and I'm going to say it over and over, just like I said what Serge said. So to come back to Fendi, I think a lot of Serge, and we have this relationship, and I think that Fendi is just a great brand, and they make great things. And I remember when Beats did the Fendi Ledger collaboration. I'm sorry, Beats Fendi collaboration. So we were looking actually for a case for our for the Ledger Nano. And we had some designs for some leather ones that were really cool. But I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this with like a brand where the leather was really qualitative and the leather was something? Even at Dr. Martens, we do things like with a particular tannery, and that's made in England, particular U.S. tannery. Like it's a more special piece. So I wrote to Serge and I said, hey, you're thinking about this. I don't know if you'd be interested, but let me know. And he said, you know what? Let me talk to Sylvia Fendi about it. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's cool. But that's also what I like about luxury, because man, if things don't come from the designer or the creative director, they're not that important at the brand, right?
Yeah.
You might get them done, but probably not, because they're going to be at the back of the line behind everything that the creative director wants to get done. And so he came back and he was like, Sylvia really wants to do this. I was like, really? It was completely surprising to me. And then, and they said, and we want to put it on the runway in January.
Wow.
It was like 3 months ago. I was like, okay, like, I think you might be crazy, but I'm not going to get my hopes up, I think is actually what I thought at that moment.
Yeah.
And then they came back with the designs and I was just like, you are kidding me. These are so cool. And so what they done, they made two different designs. One of them is an O-lock shape, which is an oblong shape. And the other one looks like a baguette. And they're kind of this size. Size like kind of the size of your phone, but thicker and not as long, right? Yeah. And so they're pretty, relatively small. And they had them in metal, crocodile, and with Swarovski crystals. I was like, no way. And we went all the way to the runway, and they had, I think, 9 different looks on the runway that were rocking, Ledger cases. And then they're putting them in production, and we'll have them available for sale in June. It's super cool. And it's spawned this really interesting conversation around, with people saying like, why would you wear your ledger in public, right? And I actually totally understand what people mean, because should you take your life savings and, attach it to your bag? No, I wouldn't recommend that. At the same time, what I would say is it's much easier for me to steal your Lamborghini than it is for me to steal your value off your ledger, right? But if a thief walks up to you and asks for your ledger, hand it to them, right? Because unless they have your PIN code, they cannot open it. 3 failed PIN attempts will brick the device, and then you use your recovery phrase later in life because you've got it in a safe place that is not on you, not near you, not in your home, please. And you're safe. That is actually okay, right? And by the way, killing you is not going to get your PIN code, right? Okay, so I guess torturing you might, but also Ledger has a feature where you can put in, first of all, you put the PIN code in wrong 3 times, it bricks. Second, if you have a plausible deniability code. So you can put in a different code and show the other accounts where you explain, to the thief that you don't have that much value on there. You've only got $50 because mostly you use your ledger to buy weed on the dark web, and you're happy to send them that $50 right now, right? So in other words, like there's not actually a lot of risk carrying your ledger around with you. At the same time, I'm not recommending that you carry your life savings around with you. And I think that most of the people who have been saying, why would you wear your ledger in public, are people that only think of ledger as a place to hodl their life savings. But from our point of view, we're looking at a world where ultimately your driver's license is going to be on your ledger. Like that's where we're going in society. Now that might be 20 years from now, but point is that, if you are at the office and you need to get that drop, then you're going to have your ledger with you, right? Yeah. Or a ledger with you, probably not the one with your most valuable pieces on it, but you're going to have a hardware wallet with you. Now, ultimately, your driver's license will be issued to your hardware wallet, and your hardware wallet is the way that you will say, I am the owner of the wallet that contains this piece of identification or this piece of whatever it is, my login to this community, or et cetera, et cetera. So I think we believe in this tokenized world, which is where we believe you will carry something secure around with you, just like you carry your phone around with you today. So anyway, that was great. Got to go to, went to Milan. Hedvig and I went to Milan and did the full thing.
That's
and
awesome.
It was truly incredible. Like really a highlight of highlight of my career, to be honest. To be able to put these worlds together was really a highlight for me.
And it's great because obviously I was going to ask the question because I saw obviously people were asking that question about safety and things of that nature. And I mean, I think you explained it perfectly. And the thing that I think people struggle with is that in this decentralized world, we need centralized tools for security and for so many other reasons that I don't think people understand. Like I saw some staggering statistic around crypto theft in 2021. It was like $15 billion, something absurd amount of money that crypto was stolen. That includes NFTs and things of that nature. And I think that kind of gets pretty scary when you think about a lot of folks don't protect some of these valuable assets. I mean, think about it. There are people, young people who are sitting on an ape that's worth $250,000 or God knows how much. And, if you have a bank account with that much money, it's relatively safe, right? Like given what we know about bank theft and the FDIC insuring those assets. So like there's some protection there, but, I think people are slowly warming up to this centralized pieces of it to help protect them. But yeah, I mean, like to your point, stealing a Lamborghini is definitely easier than stealing the assets off your ledger.
Correct.
Which is really fascinating.
And I think the thing, there was a big, hack yesterday on OpenSea. That, I mean, we did kind of an emergency Twitter Spaces last night because of this particular hack. And I think the other thing to remember is like this, this ecosystem is so new that these things just haven't been worked out yet. This is the Wild West, and you wouldn't have put $250,000 in a bank in the Wild West. And so I actually think, the thing about self custody is that, the way to think about it is that your value is safe on the blockchain. So the moment that you're unsafe is when someone either pretends they are you, meaning that they say, hey, look, I am this wallet address and I have that value. Or at the moment you do a transaction. And that was what happened with this OpenSea hack, because I think a lot of people didn't even understand that what was happening on OpenSea yesterday was possible with crypto. So it's just important to understand how it actually works and what are the attack vectors, right? So if you've got your crypto at Joe's Bitcoin exchange, then Joe can just run away with the money. So you don't want that. If you've got your money at Coinbase, I trust Coinbase's security, and they're a public company in the U.S., so I don't have any reason not to trust them. But at the same time, you could get phished. Your account could get hacked, and someone can withdraw that money, and then it's gone. And if you're using MetaMask, then you could get phished. You could have a man-in-the-middle attack. There are ways that you can get hacked there. Now, on the hardware wallet, you could still get hacked, right? Let's be clear. Like, it's just you've got a little bit more indirection, right? So first of all, no attack in the middle is going to work on you. The only way you could really get phished is if you gave someone your PIN code or your 24 words. So as long as you understand very clearly that no legit person will ask for your PIN code or 24 words, then you won't fall for that attack. It's like falling for the 3-cart money in the street, Once when you've never seen it before and you walk up and you think, wow, look at that. These people are like losing money here. I can win this game. Now, once someone explains to you that all those people are in on the ruse, you never see it the same again, right? So as long as you know that, no one legit will ever ask for your 24 words or PIN code, then pretty hard to get jacked. Unless, and this is how the OpenSea thing happened yesterday, there's some shenanigans from this blind signing thing where people are signing things that that they don't know what it is. And by the way, if you're playing in the NFT game, you're doing it all the time, right? It's just it's reality. So that was what we talked about in Twitter Spaces last night, is how to keep yourself safer in that, because the reality is that blind signing is never safe. But there are ways you can kind of mitigate the risk is really what it comes down to. Segregating accounts, don't list something from the account that has all your NFTs in it. This kind of thing. So, and if anybody has questions on any of this stuff, like, please hop over into the Ledger Discord, and we'll be really happy to answer. And this is the Wild West. We're sort of like the connected safe company. In the Wild West. They always say that it was the people who sold the picks and the shovels who got rich in the gold rush, but actually it was the people who made the safes, put the gold in. So we're the connected safe company.
That's amazing. All right, so to wrap it up, I need some predictions. What do you think Bitcoin and Ethereum price will be at the end of 2022?
I spent some time on the weekend listening to some of the analysts on this, because that's what I was trying to decide. Like, do I buy today, or do I buy next week? Or in the end, like I told you, I decided a dollar cost average. I don't know is the answer. I shouldn't say I know. The only thing that I can say that I believe is that this goes up over the next 10 years, right? If you listen to the experts, and there's plenty of them on YouTube, and many of them are actually quite good. They still think that there's a likelihood of Bitcoin going to 100,000 within this year. And if you ask me, does Ethereum end the year at 4,000 or 1,000, I would pick 4,000. Now, I'm just bullish overall, but my point of view is just look at your screen time. You are spending more and more and more of your time in a borderless world. We have very real issues going on with nation states in the world right now. Whether it's like what's going on in the Ukraine, what's going on with inflation, what's going on with stimulus, what's going on with COVID. You look at the elections. We've got elections coming up here in France. There is a lot of instability on the nation state front. And we all have the opportunity as human beings on planet Earth to be denominated in something other than our local currency today. That's not something that I knew how to do when I was 16 years old. I don't know if I think I said this to you guys before. I talked to Killer Mike a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, man, when I was 16, I bought sneakers to wear them.
Yeah.
He's like, my son when he buys a pair of sneakers, buys a pair of sneakers, he buys 3 because he knows he can flip the other 2 to pay for the first. Right. Yeah. And that's not something I understood when I was 16, Yeah. And I think that's how the world has changed. Everyone that's listening right now knows that. And, and that's the reality. Like when we live in, again, look at your screen time. We live in a borderless world. The fact that I, am living under a different government than you right now is irrelevant with this conversation. The fact that, and any one of your listeners could be living anywhere in the world. So of course there's going to be money for the world that we live in, right? So exactly how will that value track? I don't know which of these coins will have the most utility. I don't know, but I look at it as just buying equities more than I look at it as buying currency, right? Beyond Bitcoin, I feel like I'm buying a little bit of Cisco, a little bit of Amazon, a little bit of Netflix, I'm probably also buying a little bit of pets.com and a little bit of Digital Entertainment Group, which will like go to zero. Yeah. But I just need a couple of them to be Amazon and Netflix 10 years from now, for me to be stoked. Right.
Yeah, very true.
I know rock stars that had, one financial insight in 2001. I use Apple, and they bought Apple at, $10 because they use Apple. They like the iPod, and, that's what they're living on right now. you know what I mean? And actually they're not cutting into the principle. So I see it like that. You just, you just see in the way, the direction the world is going, and you're trying to buy some equity in the future.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you, Ian. The insight's always much appreciative, especially just on thinking long-term about investing into crypto, similar to equities. And excited about the ledger, Fendi. Please let us know. I need a cop one as soon as I have a few ledgers now, so I need to dress them up.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, I wore mine on stage at the NFT Paris on Saturday, and
sick.
It's really cool, man. I mean, I have to say, like, I couldn't ask for more. I mean, and I got to spend some time with Sylvia Fendi talking about it the Friday before the show, and she's legit. Like she was talking about like Fendi Casa in the metaverse. Cool as hell, and like not scared. She was like, "Oh no, I'm excited about the future." You know, and so for somebody who is, has been around, the industry a long time, you could expect them to be, jaded on what comes next. Yeah. And so when you see someone like that and you just feel how excited they are about the future, I was like, that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And when are you back in LA?
I'm be there in the middle of February to hit Mammoth Mountain for a minute.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you when you're out here.
Please. I hope so too, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you.